Hi, this is Marisa, and I'm in this amazing Jacobean manor in Rushden teaching RTT. And this is a new thing that we're now teaching some residential RTT, in that we all stay in the same place. We get to have breakfast, lunch, dinner, hang out together. Because one of the things I love about RTT is the connections we make with amazing people who come and train with us, who become incredible friends, lifelong friends. We've been doing this for 7 years now, and we've seen some really deep friendship. And so we've all made friends with Declan, who's here studying RTT. So what made you train in RTT? How did you find out about it? And what made you think, that's for me, that's got my name all over it?
Yeah, it's been showing up in my periphery, I suppose, for a few years with some advertising and promotion, and the algorithms know what I'm into. And I started with a 30-day abundance course that you have online. So that's been always, every time I tidy my desk, there's the workbook, and I listen to the audios. And then last year I had an incident. It put me into a state of anxiety, actually, which was quite unusual. I thought I was pretty impervious now. I've been working with mindset for quite a while, and the coach couldn't possibly get a wobble, but by God, I did. And it was really like an intuition. It's time we booked a session of RTT. So I researched a wonderful gentleman in Ireland called Dara. And
that Dara Finley.
That's the man.
He's so lovely.
Beautiful guy. And within, I told my wife I was going to do it. I got an appointment, and he did it across Zoom, actually. And I felt incredible. I felt really good so fast. And then I had a few of my clients that I felt it would be good to refer them on. I think like 90% of them chose Dara. Somebody else chose a lady instead. But myself and all of them, it was 100% success rate. And when I saw that, that was enough for me. I said, right, I need to go. I need to go and meet this lady. I need to go and see how this works. I want to bring this to my coaching, and that's how I got into it. So yeah, I mean, it's been the same. Acupuncture took my back pain away from when I was a child, so I studied acupuncture. So I want to, 100% is good odds. If it's 100% successful, I said I need to learn this, and that's why I came here.
And how are you finding it? What are you learning? What's exciting you the most about this course?
I think to a certain extent, everybody needs it. I also like the idea that anyone could do it. I think that's really, there's people here from such a variety of life backgrounds and even present circumstances. I'm very, what's the word I should say? I'm very inspired by the people that are here. I'm inspired by some of the anecdotes you have. I think when I listen to some of the stories and some of the things that people have gone through and come from, I've lived quite a cherished life, So that's been my takeaway. You kind of want to shout from the rooftops a little bit. It's like everybody could do with a really good RTT session, because it does come down to a very little basic trigger. And it's, for me, myself personally, I did an Instagram story about it yesterday. And I spoke about that. I said, my story, I remember playing that story over all my life. It was my first day at school. It was a terrible experience. And I can remember that story all my life. And then when I worked with Dara, he was able to say and bring me back to the moment. And that was the moment that I said, I need to be a people pleaser. I need to save everybody. I need to put myself last. All these things that kept recurring. And if I've seen that in my marriage, I've seen it in my business, I've seen it in my role with my siblings, with my children. I've seen how that has had a direct effect on me, and now it's gone. And now it's had a poor effect on me, I would say, but now it's gone, and it's been incredible. Well, I have a privileged position today, Marisa, because it was thought of by your wonderful company that one of your therapists would ask you some questions, because of course, not just the therapist, but your wonderful followers around the world would like to know some things as much as I would as well. So I'd like to ask you, what has been like a real standout experience in your life, and what did you learn from it?
I think one of the best experiences recently was when we created the Installing the Cheerleader for schools across the UK and America. And we must have about 1,400 schools at least, probably more, signed up to that. And seeing those children talk about this cheerleader and how it helped them was just the best feeling ever, because, we all want to change the world, but that's a big ask. But changing people, especially children, is easy if you know how. So that was very significant. I always wanted to almost put myself out of business, if you like, by impacting the next generation so they don't get bullied, they don't have low self-esteem, they don't have depression and anxiety, they don't feel inadequate, they don't feel not enough. So creating that program and creating the I'm Enough movement and putting that into schools, it also created an anti-bullying movement. So, I mean, there's lots of things in my career that have meant so much to me. I've won lots of awards, but that's probably one of my, it isn't the favorite because it's certainly up there as one of the most important, impactful. You know, if my life ended tomorrow, I think, you know, I did something great. I got this program into schools. So that was very exciting.
That is exciting. You hear that a lot in the world of personal development and coaching. We need to help the children, the next generation. So I think that's definitely happening. Marisa, what people may not know about you is your incredible sense of humor. And a lot of people say, oh, you know, they meet someone of your, maybe your fame and your stature, they'd say she's very down to earth. Well, that's certainly true when it comes to you, but you're so I'd like the next couple of questions might be a bit more lighthearted, okay?
Okay, sure.
So what is your most embarrassing moment, if you wouldn't mind sharing with us?
Most embarrassing moment. I think when I was about 22, I was moving to America and I was putting bags of garbage outside my house in just my pants, and the front door shut behind me, and I was standing in the street pretty much naked. I had no top on, and I had to walk into my building. Luckily, I had a building and I had a porter, and I had to walk into someone else's apartment because my window, and then I had to climb out of the window, and they didn't help me, these two guys. It was great for them. I was just wearing a pair of underwear, and I had to climb out of the window and then push open my window and get back in. And after that, you know, I never, ever, ever know. I'd never go out my front without wedging it open to this day. But, you know, it taught me something. Never do that again. I think when you get locked out of your house, locked out of your car, you learn, okay, I'm going to always have some keys taped into a tree, hidden somewhere. I will forever, I've never opened my door without wedging the mat somewhere. So that was really embarrassing, being naked at 22 in the street, but I just had to get over it.
Okay, so let's go back 4 more years from that. And what would you say to your 18-year-old self?
Okay, when you're putting out the rubbish, wear some clothes. If I just had on a T-shirt, life would have been so much better. Don't step out the door. I mean, it was a basement flat, so it didn't matter, but that was what I say. Always have some more clothes on. That makes life so much easier.
At 18, did you want to have this company and this therapy, this legacy you have right now?
No, when I was 18, I wanted to be a child psychologist. My father was a very eminent head teacher, and his joy in life was shaping children. And he wanted me to be a teacher too. You know, many parents do that. They go, you should do what I do, and it's so wonderful. That's a bit of a mistake, actually, because your children are not your children. They're not. I would never say to my daughter, why don't you become a therapist and take over the family business? Because that's not her bag. So I thought I'd be a teacher like my father. Then I thought I'd be a child psychologist. And then I decided I didn't really like that, because when you're very young and you're working with children, you tend to have 3 patients. You've got mum, dad, child. They're often divorced. And I found that almost overwhelming. So I abandoned the whole thing. And I went to America and taught aerobics for Jane Fonda, which I absolutely loved. But it was a great place to be, because very quickly in that world of aerobics and working out, I realized that every 3rd girl in my class was anorexic, bulimic, body dysmorphic, exercise compulsive, or orthorexic. And it's way worse now. This was in the late 80s. But that fascinated me, that people were coming in with anorexia and trying to do an aerobic class or go on the Stairmaster. And I was looking and thinking, you know, this is a mental illness that you can't fix with aerobics and salad. And so I went to training school to learn hypnosis, because I was also living in Hollywood, and one of my flatmates was bulimic, one was anorexic. That was almost normal there. And I really wanted to find a way. And that's how I came across hypnosis. It was the most powerful way. So if you'd love to train in RTT or indeed RTC, I think it's the best job in the world. You might just do too. Click the link below and you can find out all about it. Check out my next video here. What lies beneath procrastination is nothing more than a fear of being rejected, a fear of not being good enough. And if you have that fear, you're in very good company. It's the most common fear in the world. So now you understand it. Okay, I'm lying